Before we begin, let me warn you, this is not just a story. It is a legend whispered across African firesides about Dajjal temptation, one that elders still fear to repeat. But in the context of true religion of Islam, all our prophets sended by the Allah Almighty from Adam A.S. to Hazrat Muhammad peace be upon him, repeated the temptation of Dajjal to their people. If your heart is steady, come closer to the fire, because tonight we enter a tale that changed lives forever. Welcome to Legends by the Fire, where true African folktales live. I am Amara Ahmed, and this is the real events that can be happened in the end of times in this African folktale story. I once prayed I would forget, but some experiences hold your spirit permanently, whether you speak of them or not. I was 25 years old when it happened, living a quiet life in Okpuno, a serene Muslim community near the green edges of Enugu. My days were simple morning prayers with my father, helping my mother in her shop, laughing with Fatima, my closest friend. If someone had told me that our peaceful village would become the stage of a test, spoken of for centuries, I would have dismissed them as dramatic. But I lived it, and though this memory still shakes me, I am telling it now because silence is no longer an option. It began on an evening just after Maghrib, when the last light had melted behind the hills and the smell of fried peppers and dust filled the air. Fatima and I had just left the mosque, our slippers tapping softly against the road as we laughed about something silly. Suddenly, Fatima's laughter died, and I felt her grip tighten around my hand. "Amara," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Look." Under the lone streetlight near the central well stood a tall man. The light hit him squarely on the head and shoulders, spilling down to the ground beneath him. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. He cast no shadow. I blinked, looked again, still nothing. The man smiled at us too widely, too perfectly, too still. His teeth were the kind of flawless white that looked carved, not natural. His voice when he spoke was soft, smooth, almost hypnotic. "Assalamu alaikum, my daughters." He stepped closer. Still no shadow. Fatima's breath caught, mine too, but something in his presence felt heavy, like the air itself held its breath. "I am but a traveler," he continued, his eyes gleaming unnaturally. "I bring blessings, blessings." Yet my spirit tightened like a fist. We walked away quickly, our hearts thudding. Fatima kept whispering Subhanallah under her breath, unable to understand what we had seen. When I got home, I found my father preparing for Isha. When I told him what happened, he paused mid-step, his brows furrowing deeper than I'd ever seen. "A man with no shadow." He repeated, "My daughter, beware. Not every smiling face brings peace." His words planted a seed in my heart. By morning, that seed would grow, because by dawn, the stranger had become the most famous man in the village. People gathered around him like ants around sugar. He healed a blind boy with a single touch. The boy screamed that he could see sunlight again. Women fell to their knees. Men raised their hands in worshipful shock. The stranger made an old paralyzed woman walk. He turned dry sand into cool water during a drought. He produced bags of food as if they fell from heaven. The crowd chanted Allah Akbar, but something in me shivered. Every miracle felt wrong, like a painting pretending to be alive. The healed boy stared ahead blankly afterward, as though his mind was trapped somewhere else. The food he produced tasted faintly metallic, like blood touching the tongue. Animals avoided him, dogs growled and barked from a distance. Goats ran away. Even birds refused to perch near him. Yet people loved him. Desperation blinds faster than darkness. By the second day, crowds followed him everywhere. He spoke beautifully, smiled beautifully, blessed beautifully. Nothing about him seemed out of place except the one thing nobody noticed. He still cast no shadow. But the moment that broke my last thread of doubt came during Isha prayer in the mosque. The stranger arrived quietly, smiling as usual. He stood right behind the imam. When the imam began to recite Surah Al-Kahf, the stranger flinched. His left eye covered by a faint, strange scar began to twitch uncontrollably. It wasn't a normal blink. No, it moved as if it wanted to escape his face. I watched in horror as the blind, milky eye rolled toward me though he could not see. And in that moment, I remembered the hadith my father taught me as a child. The one describing a great deceiver, a figure of chaos, whose rival would be the greatest test. The Dajjal is blind in one eye. My entire body froze. Around me, people prayed calmly, unaware that standing behind the imam was a creature who recoiled at the recitation of the Quran. That night, I didn't sleep, nor did my father. The next day, the blessings turned into nightmares. The water he created turned bitter by sunrise, leaving villagers vomiting. The gold coins melted into mud. The pregnant women he had touched screamed through the night as their babies twisted unnaturally in their wombs before their bodies rejected them. The wealthy families who received sudden blessings lost everything either through fire or insanity. Still, some villagers defended him. They said we had angered Allah, not the stranger. They accused the imam and my father of jealousy. People will defend evil when it feeds their greed. The collapse came on a Friday. The mosque was full for Jumu'ah prayer. The air was warm and heavy. I sat beside Fatima, trying to silence the dread drowning my breath. Mid-sermon, the stranger walked in confidently. No humility, no hesitation. He went straight to the front beside the imam. Then he announced in a soft but booming voice, "I am the one sent to guide you. I am the one who brings mercy. Believe in me, and your suffering will end." The entire mosque froze. My father stood, his hands shaking but his voice firm. "You lie. Guidance belongs to Allah alone. You bring deception, not mercy." The stranger looked at him calmly. "Old man," he said softly, "your faith is strong, but your body is weak." He waved his hand gently and my father fell, lifeless, silent, gone. Before I could scream, the stranger turned to the worshippers. "Who else doubts me?" People scattered in terror. I crawled to my father's body, my voice breaking as I cried his name over and over. But the stranger walked out of the mosque, smiling like nothing had happened. That night, I followed him. Alone, grief made me bold, or foolish, or both. I found him at the abandoned farmland, the moon glowing blue-white above us. He turned before I even spoke, smiling gently. "Amara," he said my name like he owned it. "You seek answers. Why did you kill my father?" I cried. He raised his hand and suddenly my father appeared behind him, alive, smiling, calling my name. "Amara, come." My knees weakened. Tears flooded my eyes. Then I noticed something. The illusion of my father was smiling, but the shadow behind him was smiling wider. My blood turned cold. I whispered Bismillah. The illusion shattered like smoke. The stranger's smile fell. "You could have had him back," he hissed. "You could have had anything." He stepped toward me, his blind eye glowing faintly. Then it happened. A sudden wind tore across the farmland, swirling sand violently. A voice deep, echoing, powerful filled the sky. "Fear not. My promise is true." The azan rang out though no one was in the mosque. The stranger screamed, covering his ears. The wind tore at him. His form flickered like a flame struggling against a storm. The earth trembled. The air grew cold and sharp. With a final shriek, He scattered like dust blown into the night. And just like that, he was gone. The storm ended instantly. Everything fell silent. I collapsed to my knees, shaking and sobbing until dawn. In the weeks that followed, our village changed forever. Some people repented deeply to Islam. Some refused to speak of what happened. Fatima would later tell me she kept seeing the man's smile in her nightmares. The mosque felt different, lighter, quieter, humbler. My father's grave became a place where people prayed with trembling hearts. As for me, I carry this story like a scar, one I never asked for, one I cannot forget. Every time the wind howls too loudly at night, I remember the man with no shadow, and I whisper the same prayer. O Allah, protect us from the temptation of Dajjal. If this story held your breath, imagine the legends still waiting in the dark. Join me by the fire again. Subscribe so you never miss the next tale that Africa keeps hidden. This is Legends by the Fire, where every story burns and every lesson stays.